Hi, welcome to Straight Talk. When we talk about this opiate epidemic, we know it doesn't discriminate. We know it affects every neighborhood in this country, every community in this country. And we seem to be at a point where people know it's a problem, now they want help. And so they go on the internet, they look for a treatment center, and all of a sudden we have lots of treatment centers that are opening up all over the country. Some actually aren't that good. And how do we know the difference? We want to make sure that our money that we pay for treatment, or the insurance companies want to know, we want good quality service for the loved one or for yourself. So today on Straight Talk, we're going to take the whole show and talk about how do you know when it's a good program? What should you ask? What should you look for when it comes to compliance, when it comes to certification, and making sure that there's good quality services being provided to the public. Because when it comes to treatment, sometimes you only get one chance, and we want to make sure that you're looking at the best program. So we asked Desiree Mountain, who is the Senior Compliance Officer with Amatus Health, and they have programs in Georgia, New Hampshire, Maryland, Ohio. You've got programs all over the place.
Sure do.
And so you really know that this part of what it takes. So I'm not going to answer anything about the clinical stuff.
Yes.
No, I know what you do. When we talk about the word compliance, what does that mean?
So there's a few things that we have to abide by, right? State regulations, CARF accreditation standards, insurance standards with the insurance companies, mandatory what they have to make sure that they have going on. So what we do as far as compliance is we make sure on our end that the facilities are meeting those requirements from insurance companies, from the accreditation body, and from the state requirements.
And so you have to make sure that every facility
Correct.
meets those standards.
Yes, sir.
Now, the assumption is because Amatus has programs in lots of states,
Right.
does every state have different requirements?
Yes, they do. They do. And us collectively as a team, because there's a team of us in the compliance department, we have to stay up to date when the state changes something. We have to do our research. We have to make sure that we are complying with state regulations per each state.
Now, when you talk about regulations from a state, where do they come from? Is it the health department? Is it the politicians in their legislature? How do you know, like whether it's Maryland or Ohio or New Hampshire?
Right.
How do you know what you have to do?
Well, there's a few states that will email, like we get on an email list if there are changes to laws and things like that. Like they would email out to us as the compliance department being a part of the email list. I think it's collectively the health department and the politicians and all collectively who make up these changes in laws.
Now, for instance, if the public is going out and looking for, because you have all kinds of programs.
Yes.
Different levels. What
Different
what are we
levels.
talking about there?
We have detox level
Right.
of care, ASAM level 3.7. We have residential level of care. We have PHP level care, partial hospitalization, intensive outpatient, and outpatient.
So all those levels, and we'll go over
Correct.
what they are
Right.
for the rest of the show.
Sure.
So we can teach people what they are.
Okay.
So every one of those treatments, they all have specific regulations.
Correct.
So if somebody's looking for treatment and they were to go into a program, they would want to, do you have like certificates? I mean, how do we assure the public that everybody's doing what you're doing?
Right, right.
All over the country.
Well, we have to be licensed through the state. The
Right.
majority of the facilities that we have do require us to have a license in order to operate. So the general public can see that we are licensed through the state. And with that goes, a state audit where they come in and they make sure that we are providing the care that we say that we are. And a lot of states require us to be accredited. That's why we chose CARF as our accreditation body for all of our programs. We chose CARF.
What is CARF?
CARF is the Commission for Accreditation for Rehabilitation Facilities.
So this is this like a national accreditation?
Yes, it is a national accreditation.
And the state makes you get, and it's a legitimate, like hospitals.
Correct.
Get a big accreditation.
Yes.
A JCAH
Usually the
or
Joint
something.
Commission.
Yeah, Joint Commission.
Yes.
So you're saying on drug treatment, this CARF is probably what is it, like the gold standard of
Correct.
certification? Okay, so you
Yes.
have to have that to show the state. So again,
Most states.
what I'm doing is walking through somebody looking for help.
Right.
So they're going to come in and look for a license from the state,
Correct.
accreditation from an organization like
Like
hopefully CARF,
Yes.
if that's the best. Okay, so they can see that.
Right.
Or they should ask that.
They should absolutely ask that. And I would even take it a step further. Say I'm a family member and I'm looking for a facility for my loved one. I would ask them, how long have they been accredited for? Like, what was their, so there's 3 types of accreditations you can achieve from CARF, and it's a 3-year accreditation, which means that you met the majority of your standards. There is a 1-year accreditation, which states like you are on the right track, but we need to come back in a year and just make sure that you are doing things appropriately. And then there's no accreditation, which I would run far away from those.
But that's perfect. I mean, that's just what I wanted to do on this show, is let them know if they don't have something, like you said, run to the next program.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, CARF, it's all about best practice, client care. You know, they come in and they look at over 1,000 standards. So when they're looking at these standards, it's really about health and safety, client care. Another thing a family member might want to ask a facility is, how do they communicate to stakeholders or you know, other family members? Like, how do they, because that will speak volumes of how they operate, is how they communicate with the public, and how do they share their information, and who do they share it with, things like that.
And so tell me more about CARF. So do they look at clinical work?
Absolutely.
Like files, and make sure that the counselors are certified?
Human
and
resources, absolutely, yeah.
Do they do all that?
All of that.
And then the facilities they look at, make sure they're safe, I would
Yes.
imagine.
Yes.
They do it.
Making sure all your drills are done, evacuation plans are intact, your policies and procedures. They'll even go as far as making sure your policies and procedures actually match how you're operating.
Okay. Well, this is a good start. I'm going to keep you here for the whole show because
Okay.
we're talking with Desiree Mountain, who is the Senior Compliance Officer with Amatus Health. What I'm trying to do in this show is to inform you, the public, of what services are out there and how to find the right program. So Desiree is going to hang out, stay with us. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to continue talking about compliance, certification, good programs. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I just need a second.
Is your weight holding you back? Are everyday tasks getting harder and harder to do?
Did you see this? Your cousin's in the hospital from a heart attack.
Really?
Health risks associated with excess weight or obesity can be serious. But you can do something about it.
I know you're worried. I found this.
Take the Your Weight Matters Challenge. Visit yourweightmatters.org, where you'll find free resources to help you take control. You can start improving your life right away. Download the free toolkit to prepare you to speak with a healthcare provider about your weight and health. Your weight does matter. Accept the challenge and take charge today. Visit yourweightmatters.org.
I had big plans. I had my career path all planned out. While I was on a combat patrol in Baqaba, Iraq, a rocket-propelled grenade took my arm off at the shoulder. When I came home, I felt alone. My family was around me, but I couldn't talk to them about what I'd seen and what I'd done. I remember just thinking, man, the way I am right now, I don't want to live. I was discharged from the Army, and I've been working with the Wounded Warrior Project since 2007. Warriors don't have to be severely wounded to be with the Wounded Warrior Project. We do have a lot of guys that have post-traumatic stress disorder. being able to share your story, I guess it kind of helps you wrap your mind around what did happen over there. Just because you left the military doesn't mean your life is over. Because when these guys are coming home, I'm kind of leading and training them. Instead of for combat, I'm leading and training them to heal. If I come away with anything from Wounded Warrior Project, it's them giving my life back. My name is Norby, and yes, I do suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, but I'm okay.
Hi, welcome back to Straight Talk. We're having a show today to talk about quality of treatment centers. It's pretty technical sometimes, but it's important for you to know if you ever need a program, what to look for, what to ask for. And we've got the expert, Desiree Mountain, who is Senior Compliance Officer with Amatus Health. They run treatment centers in multiple states. They have to comply, they have to, be certified. And what we're learning from Desiree is what you should look for and what questions you should ask when you go in. So it's very important because we're at a stage of this epidemic where people are looking for help. And there's a lot out there, and you need to make sure it's a good program. So Desiree, thank you for staying and helping us. We were talking about the best certification is CARF. C-A-R-F is the acronym for CARF. So
or the Joint Commission. I mean, they're both accreditation bodies, but we just personally prefer CARF.
They like CARF.
Absolutely.
So a person comes in and they say to the person, to the program, are you licensed by the state? And are you accredited by CARF or JCAH or whatever the other joint commissions? What are your certifications? And if they say they're not, you say run for the hills.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And run for another program. And that's good advice because a lot of money's being spent. Human lives are at stake.
Absolutely.
We don't want bad programs out there. We don't want people taken advantage of because of this epidemic.
Absolutely.
So that's good. And you say CARF comes in. How long do they stay when they do a review? Do they come every year?
No. So our facilities particularly are 3 years. They're all 3-year accredited.
That means you met the,
yes.
you met the maximum standards.
We met the majority of the standards, yes. Something we're very proud of. So they usually come in, it's sometimes 2 surveyors, 2 days, 1 surveyor, 3 days. It just depends on how many clients you service, there's a few things that, how they decide how many days and how many surveyors.
And so they're looking, you said they're looking at everything from the facility to the case notes.
Oh, yeah.
They could look at the counselors and the patients and the clients that you see, and they can tell.
Yes, they can.
And they may have, you sit down with them at the end and they kind of go over a report of what you, so that's every 3 years.
Yes.
And that's important.
So important.
That's important.
And the biggest part is maintaining the accreditation.
And what does that mean?
So for us being in the compliance department, that's the role that we play. So, okay, we assisted with helping this facility become accredited with CARF. Now, how do we maintain that accreditation? How do we continuously make sure that the facility is conforming to the standards that CARF came in and said, okay, you guys did great. So how are we going to maintain it? And that's what we do as a department. There's many different factors. We look at quality assurance, health and safety, making sure fire drills, evacuation plans, things are being done. Policy and plan reviews are being reviewed and changed yearly. We want to make sure that is happening because as a facility grows, plans change. We might want to expand a building. Well, we need to have a plan for that. There's many things that we have to ensure are being done.
Right. Now you also mentioned that with the licensing, that every type of service has to get a license. So you talk. So let's go through a little bit of that because you talked about detox, which is getting somebody off the drug.
Correct.
Now, is that residential or is that outpatient?
No,
how's that done?
That's the highest level of care is detox. They use medication. They detox a patient appropriately in a detox facility. And the residential level of care is the next level. I would consider that a step down. And that's when the client really starts going into groups, starts being a part of, and learning how to function without the use of substances.
And that's what's typically is 28-day program or
yes,
but
typically.
We hope they go longer.
Of course.
But that's that next. So you have detox, Then you have
Residential, yeah.
residential, where they're staying here, they're living
Yes,
there.
they are inpatient programs.
Right. So again, if a family's saying, okay, do they want to look at the rooms, look at how they're
Sure.
treated? That's important too, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I've had family members go into treatment facilities, and of course they've come to me, and so how do we know this is the right one, and I personally just communicate with the staff there, see what kind of accreditation they have, take a tour of the facility and look at the reviews. You know what I mean? Like I feel like a lot of our patients that graduate the program, they go on the website and they will share their experience with the program. We're just proud
Right.
to have accomplished something and proud to have been at that specific program. So that's another big thing that we have today is the reviews online and things like that.
Right. All right, so now we have, what's next in all these different types of treatment? Then you have, what'd you say,
Partial hospitalization.
Now, what is that?
So that is an outpatient program. There are more hours of group compared to intensive outpatient and outpatient level of care. So I really see it as like a step down process. So in outpatient partial hospitalization level of care, they're really becoming integrated into the community again. There's still, maybe if they're on medication, some sort of medication, they're being monitored to make sure that the medication's working for them.
Now, where are they living?
Well, they can choose a home of their recovery house.
Like a recovery
usually,
house.
yes. A sober living environment,
Okay.
a place where it's clean environment.
And then they come to you for the treatment part.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
For daytime services.
And that's called partial hospitalization.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And that needs a whole separate certification.
yes.
Okay.
Each level of care.
Right. And then you have outpatient, intensive outpatient, which are more traditional,
Right.
like counseling
Yes.
and
Yep.
groups and things like that that are out there. And each one's different.
Each one's
Each
different.
one has a different standard that you need.
Yep.
How about qualification of your counselors?
So, with our counselors, each state is different. But if we want to talk about CARF, they have to be licensed. They have to be licensed within the state that they're going to be providing services in. We do a license verification, upon hire, and then we continue to monitor that annually. So they do have to be licensed within the state that they're practicing in.
And that's for every level.
Correct.
That you have.
Every level.
And
yes.
and that's part of the compliance to make sure, and that's an internal.
Yes.
And you say the CARF certification looks at that.
Absolutely.
So it's important that you've got good quality staff, which
For
we all
sure.
know is the most important part.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, hang in there.
Okay.
I appreciate you doing this. We got one more segment, but I think this is important. We're talking with Desiree Mountain, who's the Chief Compliance Officer, Senior Compliance Officer with Amatus Health, who provides a lot of different services in a lot of different states. So they know what they're talking about. And we're looking at the different ways of making sure that when you go for help, it's a good program. So stay with us, take a short break, come right back to Straight Talk.
Why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Having trouble finding Connor's middle school? Would you like directions?
No, why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with him over homework.
Home walk restaurant. Need a review?
No, I need help. He's very smart, but his mind wanders. He's disorganized.
I think I understand.
Oh, good.
French fries. Finding best potatoes.
No!
Russet. Fingerling. Yukon Gold.
Why don't you understand me?
Sorry, I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
For the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues, this is what life can feel like. Explore understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues, designed to help your child thrive in school and in life. Understood.org, because understanding is everything.
So they say it's a man's world? Well, I don't see anybody's name on it. While they were out doing their thing, we slowly changed all that. We changed all that. Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Hi, welcome back to Straight Talk. We're having a show and we're discussing what's a good drug treatment center. How do you know if they're qualified, licensed, certified? You don't want your loved one going to a place that's not. You want to make sure that they provide all the care. You want to make sure they're clean and the rooms are good. And I mean, you want to look at all these things, and you just don't want to drop off somebody and tell them you'll pick them up in 28 days. It's important to know. So we're fortunate to have someone that does this for a living, to make sure that the Amatus Health treatment centers, which are in 4 or 5 different states, are up to compliance. And is the senior compliance officer for Amatus Health, Desiree Mountain, who's really helping. You're literally walking through the steps
Yes.
that probably people out there should be taking.
Absolutely.
You know, you go on the, I mean, if you go on the internet, you look at the TV commercials, they look like country clubs.
Right, right.
Every treatment center wants their business. Now that we have this epidemic,
Right.
people are saying, okay, come on to my center. But programs closed because we
Yes, they do.
we saw one in Florida, I believe, closed because it wasn't properly certified and licensed, and things happen.
Right.
So it's important to find it. So you're helping us kind of walk through this.
Good.
And we've been walking through a lot. We were talking about qualification of staff. A treatment center has lots of different counselors and a lot of people who are in recovery
Right.
who make great counselors.
Yes.
Now, but they have to get certified and licensed too, right?
Absolutely. Just like somebody else that came off, from the street, they have to.
They have to
definitely
meet
be
that
licensed.
certification, and that's the critical part.
Absolutely. Yes.
But I know Amatus Health, you have people in recovery who are counselors. I mean,
Sure.
and that's important.
Absolutely. I
They've
mean,
been
who
there.
knows an addict better than an addict?
Exactly. Absolutely, absolutely. Now, do you help other programs, or would you help other? I mean, this program's going all around the country.
Right.
And if they needed some help, or if parents wanted to call, we'll put the Amatus website up. We've had it up a couple times. We'll give a phone number they can call to get to Amatus, and maybe, you can change the world here a little bit. There are the
It
numbers
sounds
up there
incredible.
now for people to call, but you know what you're talking about, and that's important.
Right.
Because a lot of people are lost at this
For
point.
sure.
Tell me about, when we talk about licensing, certification, you talked about another kind of requirement that you have, whether it's for the personnel. I forgot what it was, but you had mentioned something earlier
Okay.
about seeing all the different levels of what you have to comply
Right.
with. Is the
Insurance
mo-
companies.
What's that? Insurance companies.
companies,
Very good.
sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Very big. I know I wanted to spend a lot of time on that.
Okay.
Everyone has different insurance.
Yes.
I mean, hundreds.
Right.
Now, do you have to make sure, when you talk about compliance with insurance, what's that all about?
Well, Mike, this is how we do it. So there's one insurance company in particular that is the meat and potatoes, the one that says the highest standards, right? They have the highest standards with clinical charting, all that kind of stuff. The highest. So we set what we require from the facilities based off what the insurance who requires the highest standards. And that goes across the board. We don't treat any client differently, no matter what. So we get a client that comes in that has a scholarship, that doesn't even have insurance. They are getting the same services as somebody that comes in with a private insurance policy. Clinical charting wise, group sessions, individual sessions, things like that. So that's how we make sure that we are safe across the board, is we take the insurance that is the most strictest and comply with that, with those standards.
And so when if you hit the top of the line, the gold standard, then everybody
We'll
else.
be okay for the
you're in.
others.
Now,
That's right.
do insurance companies, because again, we're relying on either private insurance, Medicaid, for a lot of people, or state insurance, whatever state they're in.
Yes.
That they have. Now, they all have different requirements.
Right.
Is that what you have to look at?
Yes,
And what,
they do.
And what do they look for?
They want to make sure that assessments are being completed in a timely manner, and they are being completed by a master's level therapist, or reviewed and signed off by a master's level therapist. They're looking to make sure history and physicals are done, psych evaluations, group documentation, making sure the client did have enough group hours for their level of care, because group requirements are different per level of care. So on compliance end, we have to go through and make sure that each level of care is meeting the requirements for groups. They want to make sure that the pre-screens, pre-assessments are done prior to a client being admitted to the program. There's many different factors there. ASAMs, we do ASAM forms to make sure that they do meet the criteria for that level of care that they're seeking. Yeah.
And you have to prove that to the insurance company, and there's hundreds of them.
Oh yes, absolutely.
In order for you to get reimbursed for the service.
We have
And you
many,
can't survive
yes.
without getting that reimbursement
Very
from
true.
somebody. And the same with the state, the Medicaid, they have
Yes.
requirements too.
Right. Medicaid is a little bit more, it's much stricter than private insurance. So we've been very successful with ensuring that we meet Medicaid standards and what they require, and then the private insurance. We're up to date if say one of the insurance companies changes something again, we do the
You gotta
research.
be up on it.
Yes.
Now, again, we had you here to tell us about what people should look for, and you did a wonderful job. I appreciate it. The idea with Desiree being here was to be able to teach you what you need to ask, the questions. And we learned if you go in and they don't have a license or certification, hit the road and look for another program. Look through it, ask the questions, be a consumer. Make
Please.
sure that they're qualified. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
This was terrific information. I want to thank Desiree, and I want to make a wonderful announcement to all of you watching Straight Talk, is that you can now see all of our shows that we've been doing on opiates for over 2 years worth of shows. All you have to do is go to amatushealth.com, go to their Amatus Health website, and you can link down to Straight Talk, and you can watch all the shows and learn so much about what we've been talking about for several years. And hopefully it'll help you be better informed so that you can make good decisions and help the people that you love. So I want to thank Desiree. I want to thank you for watching Straight Talk. Good luck to everybody. We can fight this epidemic and help the people that we love. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.